Hey, Grant. Moved over with Candy and Marty to got some friends. Grant knows her daughter.
Todd, I went ahead and made you the host just in anticipation of you needing to do this share screen.
Yeah, thank you for doing that. And I've got the attachments all queued up and ready to go.
Okay. Sarah, how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing well. Thanks
Todd,
for joining.
Todd, you look like you've been enjoying your Arizona winter.
It has gotten very, very hot here, like over 100.
Yeah, I've
Uh,
heard.
So it kind of went from being pretty nice to somewhat miserable. I know nobody's going to feel sorry for me, but I'm ready to get back.
Yeah.
Whereabouts are you in Arizona?
We're in on the eastern portion of the valley, kind of on the eastern side of Mesa.
Okay. I was hoping to get out to Tucson again this year to do some bike riding, but 100 degrees, it's pretty brutal.
Hey, Paul, we're gonna wait a couple minutes. The mayor's on his way up.
Sure.
Right? The acoustics were beautiful in there for that.
Oh, it's fun.
Okay, I think the gang's all here, Paul.
Paul, you gotta start recording.
Already have.
Okay, thank you. All right, let's go ahead and call this 76 Entertainment Community Improvement District meeting to order, March 25th, 2026. Like, sure.
Before I say anything, I just want to, last night I saw a really good movie, The Great Awakening, Sight and Sound.
Oh,
That is the celebration of 250 years kind of deal with Benjamin Franklin and all that stuff.
yeah.
Unbelievable. I encourage you guys to see as we're all trying to celebrate 250 years. But it was playing at the Branson Meadow and the chamber was hosting, so you got Kurt was everybody there. I think everybody was impactful in terms of the show.
Is that your excuse for not coming to the state of the city? Is that where you're going with this?
Yeah.
However, Kurt lived there, so.
Oh, yeah, he was able to do both. Yeah.
All right, that's right.
Jesus to the rescue.
Father, we just thank you for all that you do for us. We ask that you come be with us today as we meet, discuss. We thank you again for the privilege to serve this community, the city. We thank you for the mayor, the city administrator, for everybody that's involved in this to make this city run smoothly. We thank you for the great meeting yesterday with the mayor and all the things that happened yesterday. We just thank you for just the exciting, the news, things that we can look forward. And we also thank you that we are approaching the celebration of the 250 years. As we continue to do a lot of preparation, a lot of stuff, we ask Father that you be with this country, especially as we are at war or a lot of stuff's going on in this nation. We ask for the protection of all of this military, and we ask for you continue to bless this country, Father, as they move forward. Pray that you be with us today as we meet. Again, we thank you for the privilege to listen, to hear, and to serve in this capacity. We ask, Father, that you give us wisdom and direction. And again, we ask that you bless our meeting. I pray all this in your wonderful name. Amen.
Paul, can you do roll call, please?
Sure. So, Brian, I see Brian and Chuck. Mike is here. Billy, Kathy, the mayor, and looks like Alex down there as well.
Thank you.
Has everybody had a chance to review the minutes from the March 12th meeting? So, I would entertain a motion to approve the minutes from the March 12th meeting.
Motion to approve.
Second.
First by Mike, second by Billy. Any further discussion? All those in favor, state by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Great. All right, moving on to the one agenda item we have, the cooperative agreement update. I think probably the best place to start this, because it's probably what everybody's inquiring minds are, is regarding the financial aspect that Todd and his team and Paul and all of us worked diligently on to get it out to everybody on Monday, so they all had a chance to review prior to the meeting. But Todd, I'm gonna pass it off to you and let you kind of run through everything. That's good.
Yeah, be glad to do that. Thank you, Chuck. And so what we've attempted to do is incorporate several of the items or all of the items that were mentioned at the last board meeting and incorporate that into our models. I'm going to share my screen here momentarily and we can kind of do a high level walk through and then, go as deep into it as you like. But the items that we were attempting to address, one was a 12% of total revenues would go as cost back to the city. So we've incorporated that. There was another comment about the growth rate in the sales tax. And so we had been using 1% growth for quite some time. And so we've also added a model that doubles that to 2% growth. And then I think the final item from my notes, there was a comment or a question about instead of paying cash for segment 4, that we would instead look at preserving that cash and doing another bond issue or a debt offering for that segment. So those are kind of the items that I had picked up on and that we had discussed. So with that, I'm going to share my screen here. Okay.
Sure. Can you zoom in on that, please? Yeah. Remove the table at the top. I think it's gallery. Well, it just says comments. Is that better? Yeah. It still needs to be bigger. Oh, sorry. Let's go down more. That's him that's controlling the scroll. There's one here that does content coding.
You can either pop out, if you do pop out, it'll separate the screens. Just pick that one. Just expand it. In there,
Probably is good.
can you see it out?
That would be Kevin that does that.
Can you zoom it out just a little more?
What was that?
Zoom out the document a little bit. Maybe go in one. Yeah, I think that worked.
Okay. So this first scenario is the 1% growth model. And so after we go through this, I'll pull up the 2% growth so you can see what that looks like. But this first column is the sales tax revenue. We're taking the 5,495,000 from the 2026 budget amount. You saw the interest income. We've just flatlined that. That's what we've been using. And so what is different this time is the 12% maintenance cost. And so we're simply taking sales tax revenue plus interest income times 12%. And you can see in this column what that amount is. And that would be paid to the city ahead of debt service. Obviously, this amount grows as the revenue stream grows. I guess to the extent that the revenue stream does not grow, if sales tax was flat, then this 12% maintenance item would be flat as well. But for this purpose, we're showing that as growing. Once we subtract off the maintenance cost, then from a bond structuring standpoint, we have what's called net revenue available for debt service. And so that's this column here. And so these are the amounts that when we go to the rating agency, when Baird goes to underwrite the bonds, this is kind of the beginning number for calculating the coverage amount. This particular scenario, we continued to show this first segments 1 and 2 being bond financed. We show in 2031, we show segment 5 being bond financed, and then finally out in 2033, we show the final series of bonds. Total net debt service is really just these 3 columns added together. And so when you look at this column, we're taking this number and we're dividing it into the net revenues available for debt service in order to come up with our coverage ratio. And again, this is something based on Baird's input, looking at rating agency criteria. We've been targeting a 125 as a minimum coverage factor. The greater that factor is, it's more perceived as the bond is more safe because there's more revenue available to make the bond payment. And should there be a hiccup in the revenue stream, then it provides more room for that to go down and still be able to make the bond payment. The coverage ratios right here, there is one year here where it's at 118. We're not overly concerned about that. That's still 7, 8 years down the road. So we're not overly concerned about that. And as we structure these bonds, these numbers will obviously change. But on the whole, when we look at this, we know this coverage is strong early on because basically you've got $5.5 million of revenue, and this first bond issue is only going to have $2.5 million of debt service. So coverage starts out very, very strong. And then when you get to where all the bonds have been issued, then you can see where the coverage drops down kind of in between that 125 to 130 level. As we get further out, further down as the revenue continues to grow, so too does the coverage. So that's a positive attribute of this. And then I also wanted to point out we have stopped our lines at 2060, but the sales tax does go out to 2066. So there's still 6 more years potentially of revenue here that could be shown if needed. And then under capital expenditures, after we get the debt service paid, as you know from the report last month, the ending cash balance at the end of 2025 was $18.5 million. So we've got that inserted right here. That amount will continue to grow, obviously, over the course of the next couple of years. And then under capital expenditures, you'll see $2 million for design cost in 2028. $22 million would be used for segment 4 in 2030. And then finally, in order to get our coverage levels at this amount for segment 6, we're adding 10 million. We're taking $10 million of cash out at that time to go with the 2033 bond issue. And you can see that really both times where you're having a big cash outlay, we're maintaining a balance at or around 1 year's of revenue. So we never, in this example, never get below 6 million.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
What was the reason for doing the $10 million on that instead of just full finance?
Yeah, because if we tried to bond finance all of that in 2033, it took our coverage levels down.
Okay, that's all I want to know.
Yep. So this really is very, very similar to what we had prepared initially. Again, the change here is showing the 12% maintenance cost being paid, and that's being paid ahead of debt service. So that's one big change here. And then, as we just spoke, the other change is in order to keep our coverage at or above 125, we're adding $10 million of cash to go with that last bond issue to complete segment 6.
So from the original one that you guys presented, did the timeline change? So 2026, 2023? No, that's all the same. So if I'm remembering right, those coverage ratios were all sitting around 125, weren't they? On the old ones?
Everything except for that hiccup area, which is similar here.
So I'm just curious, were you able to make the numbers work where we took 12% out, but then the coverage still kind of stayed okay? Just so I understand.
We never had a percentage previously from the city. We were going based
So you had,
off.
okay, you still kind of guessed.
What we did is we guessed on what the expenses of the CID was gonna be through the process, and that's how we built it.
Okay,
And then
so maybe our numbers came in pretty similar then, what you guys were guessing was the 12%, is that what I'm gathering?
we weren't at 12%,
Oh,
no,
okay.
but the 12% did not increase. The expenses didn't increase so much that it's through the ratio.
Okay.
Now, with that being said, and Todd will probably agree to this, our bond ratings or coverage ratio would increase if the 12% maintenance cost was paid after debt services instead of before debt services.
Yeah, that's certainly right, that if the 12% is paid after debt service, that would increase these coverage levels. And the reason that is because by taking that out, you're increasing net revenues available for debt service. And so with that being the change, that's going to increase the coverage, and then the 12% would come out after debt service. But what you see here has it coming out before debt service.
Anybody have any questions on this one?
And that's just at the 1%, right? That's just keeping it
Correct.
at 1,
Keeping it.
which is super conservative, so that's good,
Well,
right?
yes and no. I mean, Paul did bring up what our historical revenues have been. And we're actually equal to or less than 1% based on what we received last year. If we would have done a 2 or a 3% increase from the inception of this, we're below what we should have been considerably. So, and Todd, I don't know if you have that document available that we looked at.
I do.
I only
Yeah.
had 4 years. When you guys looked at that, how many years did you guys have on there?
I believe it was it 4 or 5 years that we looked at?
Yeah, and that's
Right here,
that's
right
that's
here.
the 22.
That's right here.
Yeah.
So you're looking at year one, it was 5,446,
Okay,
and you're looking at last year being 5,44 up. So we're below your year one.
Yeah, I think I confirmed that after, yeah, that was something that,
So the big thing that I looked at on this is, does it work at 1%? Yeah, it does. So do we need to do 2%? Do we need to do 3%?
gotcha, okay.
If it works at 1, why do we need to mess it?
yeah, and also to that same point, Chuck, the interest income is flat, so, you know,
Oh, yeah.
that's also
Correct,
conservative.
that's potentially gonna go up for sure, absolutely.
So I think it's good, we're modeling it very conservative, which gives us, at the end, if we model everything conservative, we should be able to have positive, comfortable conclusions.
Exactly.
Okay,
If you wanna go ahead and share the 2% just so everybody understands that as well, Todd.
I will. So this is the 1%. And so what's going to happen, everything else, I mean, the 12% will go up because the sales tax revenue is going up, but the debt service is all remaining the same. So let me click to the 2%. and I'll maybe go back and forth, but you can see, I'll just go down here, the total, 277 million in between now and 2060. If we go back to the 1%, it's call it 229 million. So, that obviously has a meaningful impact. So this is back on the 2% growth here. Sales tax revenues growing at 2% a year. The 12% maintenance cost, again, is being calculated on total revenue, so that's also going to increase. This has a total through 2060 of just over 34 million, whereas under the 1% growth, that 12% is, call it almost 29 million. So you can see how that increase in the assumption and the sales tax assumption increases that amount. I'm going to go back to 2%. Net revenues increase. Our debt service is really the identical, but you can see what this does to the coverage levels by having more sales tax revenue. It increases these coverage levels. And like our low point out here in 2034 that was a 118, now that jumps that up to 129. These other amounts, instead of being in the 130 range, are now 140. And if you get way out here on the back end, we're way over 2 times coverage. So I think to Chuck's point, 1% works, 2% works even better. And if we put in 3%, that would be even better. I did not make this change because I wanted to focus on just simply the change that the sales tax growth rate would have. But under this scenario, and again, we're a long ways from 2033, but given these coverage levels out here, we may be able to reduce, if you wanted to, we may be able to reduce this $10 million and issue more debt in 2033. But this is going to change every year. But I mainly just wanted to leave the debt structure in place so you could see between the two scenarios solely the impact on the change in the sales tax rate.
Do you have any questions on that? All right, Todd, let's go ahead and move on to, if we were all segments, please.
So this is, and if I need to adjust this down again, is that okay?
Yeah. Do you guys see it okay? Yeah.
So now what we've done, instead of having 3 bond issues, now we've got 4 bond issues, and here's where we're financing segment 4. We left the design cost in there, but if you think about this, if you're not using your cash and you're issuing more debt, we've got the same revenue stream. So just by issuing more debt is going to bring the coverage level down. And you can see under the debt service coverage column, you can see why this really doesn't work, because we're below 1 times coverage on this example. And it's really because you're adding another bond issue and adding $1.6 million a year of debt service.
So Todd, I have a question about that too.
Yep.
On other years, to increase that ratio, to make it not like, if we were to want to make those go up, right, then you just put more in when you do the subsequent bonding. So this is just, for everyone's sake, 0 contribution from the estimated available cash towards segment 4. But we could do a hybrid, right? And those numbers might get to 125. Or we add we do some capital expenditure from the estimated cash, like we did in the years prior. Like the $10 million there, if you did it more, Because you still have $22 million sitting in your available cash. If you added some from that, you could get the ratios where you need them, right?
Right, and that's in essence what we're doing,
Well,
with
hold on,
building
sorry,
up
Todd.
the cash.
Hang on a second. So
Oh.
we didn't play with different options. We did it based on this.
Okay.
With the understanding and knowing that if we throw in more cash, the bond rating's gonna go up. Like it's that simple. The more cash,
Yeah.
the more cash you throw in, the more your bond rating's gonna go up. So we did it based off of, did it work originally with what we originally planned or originally had talked about? Did it work with bonding everything 100% minus segment 6? And anything in between there, yeah, your bond rating is gonna go up.
Yeah, so I guess the other scenario would be, bond everything, but just add a little more cash, which we didn't really, you're saying we didn't really do that bond.
No,
We could.
We could, I don't know where it would put segment 4 if we didn't pay cash for segment 4.
Well, that's this, right?
No,
No, this is bonding.
this is bonding everything. Correct.
Right.
So that's what this is. If we
Right.
did not put any cash towards segment 4, but we are putting 10 million towards segment 6.
Yeah.
So is that gonna drop, say we drop, put 10 million in for segment 4, then that 208 or the 210 is gonna go down. Your 129, 130 is gonna go up a little bit.
Mhm. And then one of my question is, would it get those 90s up to 125? It's just, I think we have plenty of scenarios. I just wanted people to recognize that may also be another one.
It absolutely possibly could.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You're absolutely right.
Yes. All right.
Sorry, Todd.
No, that's all fine. And so I'm gonna, again, this is based on 1%. I'm gonna jump to this same scenario using 2%. And we know from the last example, by going from 1% to 2%, we know the impact of that is a higher debt service coverage ratio. And it's the same concept here. So, maybe we'll look at 2033, we're at 103, and let's see, I'll pick 2043, we're right at 1 times coverage. So I'm going to go to 2%. Let me know if I need to adjust that. But in 2033, now we're at 111, so it increased that coverage. And then in 2043, we were 1 times coverage. Now we're at 119. So you can see just by simply going from in the sales tax revenue, going from a 1% growth rate to 2%, yes, it increases the sales tax revenue and it increases these coverage levels, but these are still well below what we would be targeting for 125 coverage.
Can you slide over so we can see the available cash for those years, just so we know if we could make those get where they need to be?
Okay, yep. I apologize for that, Aiden. Can you see that now?
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's definitely money that could get it there if that's the scenario you wanted to choose.
Correct. If you,
It's all positive.
well, and if you look on down the line, once the project's done, which this doesn't show everything, but starting in, what was that, 2043 to 119? You have $30 million in available cash, and that's just continuing to grow to where you can just pay down debt services with that $30 million to where it's gonna be paid off quicker.
The only reason why I bring this up is because I think everyone needs to know that there's options.
Oh, there's tons of options.
It's important to appreciate all the options, not just one of them.
Right. Well, going through this process and where I was looking at it more focused than anything else is, does the 1% work? If not, do we need to do the 2%? Does the 12% work? If not, what number does? And based on what I'm seeing is the 1% works and the 12% works. And based on those two things, I think we have a project. If I didn't think we had a project, I didn't know whether we were gonna have a project, not knowing what the maintenance amount were gonna be. But I feel like we have a project now. I feel like this is something that, we can move forward with. So, and that's kind of the goal, right?
Yes,
So,
good.
anybody have any additional questions or anything else for Todd? Todd, do you have anything else for us?
think I might just kind of summarize this, and I'm going to go back to where we've got 1% growth and we're paying cash for segment 4. There's plenty of options, and nobody knows what's going to happen next month, let alone 5 years down the road. But I think what this sets the board up to be able to do is to do the first bond issue for segment 1 and 2, and we've got that sized at $34 million. Now, the project's not bid. I mean, it may come in below 34 million. It may come in higher than 34 million.
Mine was higher. Me too.
But I think by having the $18.5 million in the bank, that if we size the bond issue to provide 34 million and it comes in higher than that, well, then you've got a cash balance that you can draw down from in order to get the project done. And then we've got the benefit of time, right, is on your side, that we know after we do the first bond issue that you've got $5.5 million of revenue, you got $2.5 million of debt service. You're going to continue to build that balance. And then when we get 2 years, 3 years down the road, 4 years down the road, we're going to look at this again and we're going to say, okay, here's what the revenue stream has done over the last 3 or 4 years. Maybe it's grown, maybe it grows more than 2%. We don't know. But we'll make that call when we get there. And then you should be in a position to where at that point you've got 25, maybe $30 million in the bank. And then the question for the board becomes, do you want to use some of that cash for segment 4, or do you want to bond finance all of that? And so there's lots of options, but I think the benefit of this is it gives you flexibility down the road to kind of make the decisions as you have more information and you kind of assess the facts and circumstances at the time that those next segments are ready to move forward.
Excellent.
Thank you for your work on this. Very helpful.
Yeah, thank you, Todd.
Oh, you're welcome. Glad to do it.
Okay, anybody have any further questions for Todd?
I'm going to stop sharing my screen here then.
Okay, thanks, Todd, appreciate it.
Thank
I
you.
guess now moving on to the rest of the cooperative agreement, I know that we never received anything.
Yeah, I chatted with Paul yesterday or the day before about it. There's some other things that we have, and that we talked about needing to put in there as far as like, language that would talk about, so I had to clarify first who was doing the construction, the CID or the city, as far as managing it, right? So obviously it makes more sense for the city to be doing it, clarify that. So once you clarify that the city is doing the construction, the bonding is coming from a different entity, how do you get the money from there to there, right? So there's got to be some contractual thing there. We didn't have that, I don't think, in our last one. So that's language that just this last week came to my mind, and Paul and I chatted about that yesterday. We agreed about that. So I'm working on that. I worked on some of it this morning. So we should have something over to him pretty soon.
Does anybody have any questions, anything else?
What's about pretty soon? Because I
This
hear the
week?
mayor's.
Well, you can do it.
I can hear you when you're breathing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm-
within the week, you're thinking a week or roughly 10
Yes.
days-ish.
After the meeting last night, it was the 38th hour. I had slept 2 hours and 38 hours.
No, we got that. That's all good. So just trying to put a time frame around it. So a week or 10 days, we'll have something turned around.
Okay, so Paul, not to put you on the spot or anything, but how quickly do you think you can review and turn around?
I can't really answer that because I haven't seen it. So I don't know what Sarah's on the call. She'll need to review it as well.
Right?
We'll just, I don't want to promise something not having seen it. I don't know what to expect as far as our red lines and edits and back and forth. Um, I'm sure I don't want to speak for Sarah, but, we'll be reasonably diligent, but, I don't want to, it'd be imprudent to lay out a marker without having seen the document or the scope of it.
Understood.
For me, I mean, I know it's a priority of everyone on this call, so I'll prioritize reviewing it, but just kind of depends what it looks like.
Just so you guys know, Sarah provided us a few models to go off of and we redlined off of those.
Yeah.
And I've been working with them to make sure that these aren't going to be out in the left field. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of understanding of what you're gonna be able to expect. So hopefully there's not gonna be a lot of red lines.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I look forward to getting it as soon as you're able.
Yep, we'll be working hard on it.
Does anybody have any other questions? Anything else? I don't think we have anything to vote on, because until we get to cooperative agreement, we don't have anything. So.
Yep.
I think, if,
But this was a big step, Chuck, and thank you for your work on that too. So now it's like green, right? And then we'll just, it's one last box to check, which it shouldn't be difficult to do that at all. That's our intent anyway, so we'll get this turned around and then can we play this out if you don't mind my jumping in here? So playing this out, let's say we get cooperative agreement signed within, let's just say 30 days. I'm just throwing a number out there. Only throwing a number out there.
it's kind of on the board one, so.
Yeah, it's gotta go to the board. Well, we can always do an urgent meeting if we need to have one, right? And then Michael, then it can go out to bid, or when can it go out to bid? Is the bonding has to be,
We can put it out to bid with language saying that you probably want to enforce documents in place.
okay, good.
So. All right, I can bring those.
It might be helpful at this point, Todd, if you could provide some insight, this, just for the sake of discussion, assume the cooperative agreement gets signed in 30 days. Can you educate the board or remind the board about the bond rating process and how long that takes?
Yeah, I'd be glad to. And so I think just kind of a generic timeline from start to finish, and finish meaning bond proceeds are in the bank, is probably around 75 days. And so the initial work is going to fall on Sarah to put together a preliminary official statement for the bond issue and some draft legal documents. Once we have those documents, we would submit those to the rating agency to get the rating process started. That's at least probably a 3-week process from start to finish. And then at that point, Baird would begin, once the rating is assigned, Robert W. Baird would begin the underwriting process of getting the bond sold. And then there would be bond documents that the CID board will need to approve, and either at a regular meeting or perhaps at a special meeting. But those are the big steps. I mean, there's a lot of stuff kind of in between there, but those are kind of the major steps.
And Todd, I do want to throw in there, the IDA will be the issuer. That's
Right.
the plan so that we can go, longer than the 20 years that a CID bond can go out. So we'll have to coordinate with the IDA to get on their agenda and make sure they have time to review the documents. I don't expect that they'll have, a whole lot of comments on it, but we do need to be cognizant that that's another board that this will need to go through.
Yeah, no, thanks for mentioning that. And certainly some of these things can be done simultaneously. So once we get draft documents, we'll be reaching out to the IDA and kind of bringing everybody along at the same time.
Does the cash that's in the account cannot be touched during that whole period till it's posted by bond counsel? Like, could they prop it up with cash and pay themselves back? So they could say, hey, can you do that? That's a Todd or Sarah question. Like, can you take the cash that you have available and they say, we could start construction up to $7 million, then wait for the rest of the cash to come in, $6 million, something like that. So you could let mobilization and those pieces get started.
Yeah, so there's a concept of a reimbursement resolution. And so we would have a resolution approved by the CID saying we intend to do this financing and these costs that we're spending now will be reimbursed to us through the financing. So we'll just make sure that we get a resolution like that. We can go ahead and get it on on the agenda for the next meeting. It's fairly short and straightforward. That way, any costs that you expend now will be able to capture and get repaid with bond proceeds.
So yeah, like move along.
I think the only issue there is like you obviously don't want to get too far ahead of when you have a true financing ready to go.
Right, and that would be a comfort level, of course, of the board and you all. So you name the number and then we write that into the contract.
When is it that we've all decided that you want construction to start? Because that's the $1 billion question.
That is the billion question. That's
The last
me.
conversation I was in on that was the construction is gonna take 12 months. So it almost really didn't matter which month we start, it's gonna interfere with all seasons.
Well, it still matters because the end of some parts of the project, your roads are open, some parts you're not, right? So you're doing final work. If that final touches on the sides of the road is being done in the really busy time, that's ideal. Because you still have good flow and stuff, so we just need to figure that out.
Yeah, and then also the incentive project or incentive line we originally talked about doing brought to the board was 2 months trying to get away from November, December. And so that's where it's a little bit of time lag of when y'all are ready, writing that, bringing that to you, the idea of how we'll control it, either in phasing or timing. They're like limiting or not limiting, and then do you still want to build a structure it to make it go faster? So
does that affect the time of when you want to start?
it does. I mean, ultimately.
You're saying the road 76 would be closed for a period of time?
So like it would never be closed for a period of time. There would be lanes that would be shifted. You'll lose your sense.
So yes, but you want, that's what I mean, is do you want that during your busy time or do you want,
No, I
to
understand.
put that somewhere else?
So ideally, what month should you,
Yeah.
in terms of pattern and all that stuff, in terms of what the single lane, whatever, what month do you think is an ideal calendar?
You're trying to get it started the third week.
So
Second
what-
or third week of August, get it started and then get it completed before Memorial Day. And so I know it's 12 months, but if we're doing incentives for 2 months, get it completed before Memorial Day.
So Chuck, what can the SID people in the business community do to get a consensus from them? Because what we learned in downtown was there was a lot of criticism afterwards because they didn't feel like we went to them, even though we did.
Right.
So how can we need to be cognizant of, this may be the right time still, but how do we get them all to say the same thing before we start, right?
And I can't answer that question. That's gonna be, I don't know the best way. I mean, definitely probably wanna get the chamber involved to help us spread the message. I see Lori's on here, so maybe even the lodging association can get everybody to back us on this. To understand that, and even talk to the people that did segment 3, like us and Presley's, or whoever up and down segment 3 that already went through this and saw that the disruption on our property was very minimal. They always allowed access to our property. They always allowed us to make sure that it didn't interrupt our business too much. We did it, had very minimal disruption and changes to our costs or our attendance center.
That's great testimony.
So, and they're not gonna be in front of your business the entire period. They're only gonna be there for a short period of time. I say short period, could be a month, could be 5 weeks, I don't know, but you're always gonna have access to your business.
They're in the vehicular part of the entrance. It's the only spot we're really at. Your parking lot's still doing it. We're not at the front door. Career business check.
Yes, sure. Well, that's very different. That is.
In our case, you were, but that's okay. It's all.
But yours is really honest, so, yeah, and just to say it too, is we do have tap stuff and stuff on there, so MoDOT does get a review period, but they understand how important that this is to the city, and we talk to them every month. They really wanted to see some true full forward movement, but their financial season starts in July, so they turn over, so I will update them of this meeting and welcome them to watch that, so in case there's questions about any of the funding.
Where were the dates at? Like, how soon could we start if the 90 days is true and you go through everything? What is that date as you see it?
August. Yeah, August. Great day, but you have to also realize that the contractor that's bidding on it, you have some other projects that are in demand and here at the same time period. There's one that comes to my mind really quick right over there. And so the big contractors chasing that right now. So they may say, hey, I can't mobilize for 60 days, and that's something else that we could write in that you must mobilize in so many days from notice to proceed. So those are the things that I will bring back to you as we set that part in. Is here's construction contracts, here's the ideas. If you guys agree with me, do we need to change anything before we release that out? That sounds fair. So.
Michael, since we now know kind of ideas of maybe the schedule coming up, I know we talked from the last board meeting, opportunity that we may miss because of the grant or different like that. Are we gonna miss because we're pushing everything maybe it's 1 month? We
should be good, but nothing's guaranteed, right? So on that. So what they're saying is their financial year is in July, and that there you take a hard look to, sweeping capital projects that didn't go, but luckily with the governor's money, we so that one's activated. The taps should be all right. If it does come into question, of course, I will let my bosses know, but you all know that some work needs to be done at the capital.
So what a resolution that we're talking about doing with the potential for 5, 6, 7, whatever $1 million that's going to be paid back. That give benefit.
Oh, huge benefit because we could write the construction contract. You could, you're going to advertise for 30 days. I would assume you guys, I believe MoDOT requires us for 30 days on their side. You guys want 30 days because you want the widest span of people that can. And then we'll need to come back and discuss what we talk about here is, do we narrow the start time of you have to start at this time or else? And so we'll work on that construction contract language that's there. And then we're saying 365 with no delay to anything other than terrorism or something crazy, right? So weather does not count for them. So that's the way we write. And then the incentive program, of course, makes it all look good at the end. So they're going to chase the incentive, you're going to finish earlier, but outside looking in, the contract is from this point to this point, i.e. downtown finishing a month early, they were chasing an incentive. So,
well, and if you look at a project, typically your last 30 days, your last 60 days on a project, that's finishing touches.
Sure.
That's not major construction. So we're talking.
We wrote it as lighting is some pedestrian walkways are open and all vehicular is open. They could finish landscaping, mulch, some of those little things, but no disruption to vehicular or pedestrian.
But even that last 60 days, what I'm saying is that, if they're running behind, we get to Memorial Day and it's starting to be, the start of the 27th season, chances are it's going to be 90% done.
Sure. It's going to look good.
It's going to look good. It's going to be, it's not going to interfere with businesses on 76 during that time. At least that's what I'm envisioning when I see from my side of projects.
So we have 30 days here that maybe because the review and all that stuff. But everything with Red River is, I know Journey already stamped it and Todd Channel taken over. There's 30 days that we can do something if it's not.
Yes, and they're continuing to
Okay.
work. Like I know this isn't on the agenda, but we met with all the utility companies and so said, hey, where are you guys at your set of plans, which is basically outside, and we funded that. Everyone was at 99%, except Liberty Utilities is at 80%. they're working through just one easement that they are working on pretty hard. And so, that is a great sign because you went the opposite way, you built it and then you went that, now we have all the easements, all the players are in and we let them know that it was eminent that it, based on these meetings, that would be very, very soon.
Because, once the cooperative agreements signed and agreed, the alderman approve it, just make sure we are ready to move on.
Yeah.
I don't want.
Everybody's ready. Yeah, I think realistically, there's a little bouncing back and forth as we talked about, like, what does this construction contract look like? But of course, we could bring it to you in many different ways. We could send it to the board and say, hey, if you agree with this or any
But just to
comments.
raise it. I mean, what do we know about writing that contract? You would know.
Well,
Like, I would trust
I'll take a
you, like
guess.
what
There
you
you go.
did with downtown was
Yeah.
brilliant. So,
We are not authorizing 24-hour working in this one, just so we're pretty clear. The reason for that is you have hotels that are in there. And so, there may be sections that they can get away with that from, depending on that. And of course, that goes, to my boss, Ms. Kathy here, for her people, but, we learned our lesson, anywhere near a hotel, I get it, right? I stayed at a hotel once.
Yeah.
Want to be super respectful, and especially the Hamptons down there and others. Hampton has spent a lot of money remodeling right now, so.
this is great. Yeah,
Getting close.
yes,
Closer
I
anyway.
can taste it. I love it.
Great. Anybody have anything further?
Say we need everything done, would we need to meet any earlier before the next scheduled meeting, which the end of, April? My question is, I'm available because I know the mayor wants to get it done, so I just let you know if there's something that you can get, I know it's gotta go approved by it's gotta be approved by the CID before it goes to the alderman.
Yeah, we can call it a special.
So we can-
The biggest thing right now is get the contract call.
Yeah,
Sarah.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
You to review it,
yeah,
red line, make comments, whatever they gotta do, get it back to Sylvan. It's just, that's the big thing right now.
Yeah.
So as soon as we get that, we'll call a meeting. You have to have 24-hour notice, right? So we'll give 24-hour notice, try to get it done. So,
Should we I'm hesitant to bring this up, but I'm wondering, was that a
I know I was in the,
In
getting ready.
I'm wondering if we should do some type of a resolution stating that this board has directed our attorneys and Todd and Matt. Because there's somebody in our community who is in public meetings and in meetings with Senator Hudson and Representative Seitz has stated that the city has thrown a big wrench into this. The city's been holding this up. This may take a long time. And so I got a call from Hudson's representative asking the question of, is this true? Is the city really holding this up? And is this going to take many more months to get this completed? The concern was because of that state funding. So, I mean, it's Gail Meyer, and he has a voice, especially up in Jeff City. And that's the message that he has been putting out in the last week or so. So I'm wondering if a resolution or something from this board, if we could approve that and then get that out into the community as far as what the real message is.
Paul,
Well, we don't have any resolution prepared. I don't, Stolen and I did talk yesterday, and, I fully expect within a week or so to get the draft cooperative agreement. I suppose if you wanted to make a motion to direct me, or I guess direct me to negotiate the cooperative agreement. I mean, it's just a truism. It's going to happen.
Is
But
it
I'm not-
true? it's a truism, Paul, that I think needs to run the community because there's other messages right now being sent in the community. In our state.
Yeah, I mean, there's no harm in if somebody wants to make a motion to direct me to negotiate me and Sarah and I to negotiate the cooperative agreement with the city. Just understand though that we're not doing the initial drafting of it. We're just going to wait until we receive it. But
So I'll make that motion.
Okay,
Second,
second from Kathy. Any further discussion? All those in favor, say by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
When that resolution comes through, is that something that I would be able to share with MoDOT and calm their
yeah, we
fears?
would share far and wide from the mountaintop.
Yeah, you bet.
I think it's most important for the reason you just said.
Yeah.
I mean, no
Yes.
offense, I'm just saying that the people controlling some purse strings.
Control some more.
Yeah. Excellent. Okay, are we all done?
Anything else? Make a motion to adjourn?
Go ahead, I make motion to adjourn.
Okay, second? Second, Mike. All those in favor, paid by getting up or stepping away from the table?
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.